Good morning. I'm David Reams, Special Agent in charge of the DEA Seattle Field Division, which covers Oregon, Washington, Alaska, and Idaho. Here with me today are Chief Warren Hensman of the Grants Pass Police Department and Captain Kyle Kennedy of the Oregon State Police. I'd also like to recognize Chief Scott Logue of the Central Point Police Department. We'd like to speak to you today about a recent joint investigation with the DEA Medford Resident Office and our partners from the Oregon State Police, the Grants Pass Police Department, the Central Point Police Department, the Josephine County Prosecutor's Office, the Rogue Area Drug Enforcement Team, the Central Oregon Drug Enforcement Team, the Douglas County Interagency Narcotics Team, the Basin Interagency Narcotics Enforcement Team, the Interagency Marijuana Enforcement Team, and over 50 DEA special agents from around the Seattle Division. For 18 months, DEA and our partners have been investigating an armed group of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and weapons traffickers centered in Grants Pass and operating throughout southern and central Oregon. On November 14th, federal, state, and local law enforcement officers from around the region executed 9 search warrants, arrested 24 individuals, and seized 37 guns, including a fully automatic weapon and an explosive device. Even before yesterday's enforcement action, the team had already seized 40 pounds of methamphetamine and large amounts of fentanyl, pills, and powder. We assessed the quantity of fentanyl we seized had the potential to yield 144,575 lethal doses. These numbers will increase as we sort through the evidence we collected in the search warrants. This case once again highlights DEA's commitment to Southern Oregon and the strength of our partnerships throughout the region. Drug and weapon seizures made in this cooperative effort between federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies made communities in Southern Oregon safer today. So thank you. I'd like to introduce Chief Hensman.
Good morning, everybody. And first of all, I want to first introduce myself. My name is Warren Hensman. I'm Chief of Police for the City of Grants Pass. And I want to start out today by thanking our community. It's really important to thank our community for their continued support. They trust and believe in the men and women of the Grants Pass Police Department, and I am forever thankful for that support. I also need to thank all of the amazing law enforcement partners in the room today, and we heard that laundry list, but it really is kind of a look into our world of what a partnership really looks like. In an environment where municipalities are sometimes struggling for funding, we rely heavily upon our partnerships, and those partnerships are what we call force multipliers. The Grants Pass Police Department couldn't do this without their partners, and we're very thankful for that. I wanted to share my thanks as well, not just to the DEA, but to also our local RAID team, our Rogue Area Drug Enforcement Team, made up of men and women from the Grants Pass Police Department, Oregon State Police, Josephine County District Attorney's Office, and Josephine County Community Corrections. The RAID team have been slogging it out in Grants Pass and Southern Oregon for years, and the community is indebted to them for sure. I wanted to also share that it's important as the chief and for this community to know that we will tackle crime from a lot of different fronts. This is just one of those fronts that we have to come at crime, structured crime, to have an impact. But it's more than just that. We need to recognize as a team that overdoses in Southern Oregon are at an all-time high. It's absolutely disgusting when you think about the amount of life that is lost to overdose-related death. I wanted to make sure that everybody in this room knows that the Grants Pass Police Department, and I know our partners, sincerely believe in treatment. We know we are not going to arrest our way out of addiction, and we will continue to work tirelessly with our other partners. And for those of you that live here in the region, know that the Grants Pass Police Department have a strong partnership with Options for Southern Oregon and Adapt Integrated Health, where we have a case manager embedded within our organization, and we have recovery mentors that respond to all overdoses in the city of Grants Pass. that is a partnership that needs to continue because it's a partnership that will save lives. I also need to share with everybody, because it's a reality, that studies have shown that a significant number of property crimes are committed by people suffering from addiction. And this isn't a judgment from me at all. It's a reality. And I go back to treatment and recovery, and we need to pay closer attention to that so we can help people get well, get better, so we can bring crime down throughout our community and throughout communities in Oregon. I also wanted to close with the Grants Pass Police Department will continue to write citations for Ballot Measure 110. We believe in holding people accountable, but we also believe in providing some sort of an avenue towards treatment and recovery. And I'm going to conclude on that, and I just want to thank everybody in this room, and I want to thank the partnerships. We couldn't do this without you. It's community, it's law enforcement, it's our service providers, it's everybody. With that said, I'm going to introduce Oregon State Police Captain Kyle Kennedy.
Good morning. As just introduced, I'm Captain Kyle Kennedy with the Oregon State Police. Yesterday we saw the culmination of over a year-long investigation, an interagency investigation into a local drug trafficking organization. Today that organization has been dismantled and is no longer in operation. Oregon State Troopers alongside DEA, the Grants Pass Police Department, the Central Point Police Department, and multiple local interagency narcotics teams have spent countless hours to track down the tentacles of that operation and to bring accountability to those who would seek to harm our communities by bringing illegal drugs to those who are vulnerable and addicted. These joint operations, as was just said before, is a force multiplier for our ability to disrupt and deter illegal drugs from flowing into our communities. To the local communities, we know our work's not done with this one operation, but we do ask for your help. We need your help. You're the eyes and ears of everything that happens in your neighborhood. And we ask that you report all suspected criminal and drug activity to local law enforcement agencies. Together, we can partner to disrupt these operations. Lastly, I just want to say to the troopers, the officers, the deputies, the agents, the detectives who took part in this investigation, your names might not be known, but the impact of your work and this operation will be felt in the communities that you serve. I want to tell you good job, good work, and we want to thank you for your committed service.
Okay. Before you see some weapons and drugs and cash we seized in yesterday's operation, on the screen is a seizure we made previously in the investigation. And we'll be happy to take any questions. Yes, ma'am.
How many people were arrested again, and what was the geographic extent of the organization?
So there were 24 arrests yesterday, and the geographic extent was mostly in southern and central Oregon.
Could you describe how the organization worked? Where were they sourcing their material? How were they distributing it? Whatever you can say about that.
Okay, so fentanyl and methamphetamine both come from pretty much the same sources. They come from chemicals largely produced in China, shipped to Mexico, where they're made. Both fentanyl and methamphetamine are made in large labs in mostly central Mexico. It's pressed into methamphetamine or fentanyl, depending on the case, and is shipped north. So that's where the drugs ultimately came from, is Chinese chemical companies made in Mexico and sent to the United States. So that's how it arrived in our community, and it was distributed by this organization in a variety of different ways. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Taylor Anstress with NBC5 News. I just had a quick question. So you said there were 24 individuals that were arrested within this investigation. Do any or of these suspects have a history of drug-related or drug trafficking arrests prior to the start of this year-long investigation?
Some of the defendants did have criminal records prior to our contact with them this time.
What's next with the operation?
So we will expand the investigation. We'll run down the leads that we've uncovered during the search warrants, and we'll continue.
How many warrants were executed yesterday
There were 9 search warrants yesterday. I'd be guessing this all in the region, so I'm not certain.
In and around, go ahead, you want to fill in and around Grants Pass?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. Majority of the search warrants were all within Josephine County, combination of county and city of Grants Pass.
What other drugs were located? Was it just fentanyl and methamphetamines?
Fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, some heroin, and marijuana in this investigation.
What would you say is the estimated street value of all the drugs that were seized within this operation?
DEA doesn't typically describe the street value because it ranges so radically from locations. So it's roughly, the fentanyl portion is 144,000 plus lethal doses, and the methamphetamine is about 40 pounds. Yes, ma'am.
Will there be a written press release with the names of those arrested and the charges?
There is a written press release, and you're going to get it momentarily.
We're not releasing the names, but they will go to Josephine County.
Yes, ma'am.
Will they be prosecuted federally instead of at circuit court level?
Right now, the prosecution is being handled by the Josephine County Prosecutor's Office.
Do you know if any will be bumped up to the federal level?
Those decisions haven't been made, if at all. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
You have the source of where specifically it was coming from, so we can follow up and kind of cut off the line, or how does that work?
So the investigation is ongoing, and we are looking into where it ultimately came from. Chinese chemical companies processed in Mexico and shipped north, so that we know how that's sort of the mechanism where these things come from. So we'll follow the chain of evidence back to where it started.
So it's along I-5, you would say, is a major corridor for.
Yeah, so drugs arrive in our community every way you can imagine. I-5 is a large way. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
How far back have you tracked it? I mean, we have our street level dealers, then we have people who are trafficking locally. We have people trafficking often in California with connections into Mexico. Have you reached all the way back to any defendants in Mexico?
We'd rather not get into investigative details of our work. But I would say you're on the right track. Anything else?
I don't think I picked this up. I might have just missed it. So out of the, guns that were seized during the different search warrants, how many of them were officially registered within, the gun registry databases?
Yeah, I don't know if we've had a chance to run all the serial numbers yet, so I couldn't tell you. Sorry. Sorry, ma'am, do you have another question?
Yeah, I was wondering if you know, what was the use and the role of these guns? Are there any indications that they were used in any local crimes? Any details about the weapons?
I'm sorry, we can't get into details of the investigation so far.
And you said there was an explosive device.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you describe that?
It was a grenade.
And Vicky, if I can expand upon that a little bit, because I just can't help myself right now, but we were at a council meeting recently and shared some information about public safety in general. And we talked about our major crimes unit. This is a massive major crimes investigation. The work will not end. The work will go on for several more months. There's a ton of leads to follow up on. And that's the side that the community really doesn't see. And we struggle with that here at Grants Pass quite often. The amount of work that our major crimes team puts into a variety of investigations, there's so much more work that happens after that, and I can imagine that the men and women of the DEA and all of the supporting partnerships are going to be busy for quite some time.
How deep into the organization did you get with these arrests?
So DA's mission is to track all the way back to the Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels back in Mexico to try to dismantle them from the top to the bottom. That's our ultimate goal. we succeed at varying levels. We're going to try our best to go as far back as we possibly can.
Was this connected to any cartel activity in Southern Oregon?
This is a major drug trafficking organization operating in Southern Oregon. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Are the defendants a mix of, I mean, obviously we have our possible Mexico connection that you can't really disclose very much, but are we talking about a group of defendants of a mix of ethnicities, white, Latino, American citizens, Mexican nationals? What kind of demographic group are we talking about?
Yeah, we're not prepared to release the names at this time. So, but they're all being held in Josephine County.
And outside of the drug trafficking operation, have any of the, suspects, defendants been linked to any other crimes, major or minor, within the region, within the area of Grants Pass or Josephine County?
Chief?
I'm not prepared to answer that question right now, but I will tell you that, and also too for the community to know, we've talked about this before, no stone left unturned, there's a lot more work to do, and we'll continue our role within the follow-up side of this investigation.
Are they all being held at the Josephine County Jail?
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it all coming.
Thank you.